Well, I think it's important that we link it with the post that Trump made prior to this announcement, which insinuated that, under Joe Biden, Ukraine wasn't given the ability to attack Russia, and you can't defend yourself properly if you can't attack Russia. Um, and the implication of this is that he was considering giving Ukraine the means to launch offensive operations against Russia. And then suddenly we had this announcement about the 3,200 ERAM missiles, ERAMs. Um, and so you put two and two together and you say, well, there it is. Donald Trump is now giving Ukraine the ability to launch offensive operations against Russia in an effort to um, level the playing field, so to speak. Except that's just not what's happening. It's a bunch of hot air and no substance. When you take a look at the announcement, first of all, it it's we are considering or we will or we may or something. It's not there's no hard contract signed with Ukraine as of yet. Two, you look at the prime contractors involved and just go dig in. One of them, has a $34 million contract to develop a single prototype missile. The delivery date for this missile is October 2025. That's next month. So they don't even have a prototype built yet. Now, once that prototype's built, then they'll begin operational testing and to make sure that it meets the parameters, et cetera. And then you have to build all the, support equipment that goes with the prototype. You can't build it before the prototype because what are you building it for? And then once that's all done and it's approved for production, the maximum output when the whole production line is up and running is 1,000 ERAMs a year. Now, remember, they haven't started serial production yet. So ask yourself how many ERAMs Ukraine's going to get this year. And the answer is none. How many are you going to get next year? I don't know. If they get the production line up and running, less than 1,000. And so in order to get 3,200, we're into the 2029 time frame. So there it is. It's all hot air. It's typical Trump. It's typical American support for Ukraine. A lot of talk, a lot of big words, a lot of, drama, but zero substance here. There's no ERAM missile today. The prototype hasn't been completed yet. They haven't tested it, and it's not in serial production. So where does that leave us? Well, with the Russians continuing to launch offensive operations against Ukraine and on the ground and in the air, and Ukraine having no means to respond effectively to that. And by the time the ERAMs are made available to Ukraine, there probably won't be a Ukraine.
You just heard Scott Ritter, former U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer, UN weapons inspector, and one of the most credible voices on military strategy, expose a shocking truth. Donald Trump's promise to send 3,200 ERAM missiles to Ukraine is pure political theater, a lie with no basis in reality. And Ritter doesn't just say it. He proves it, because the ERAM missile doesn't exist, not even as a working prototype. The production line isn't ready. The contract isn't signed. And even if everything went perfectly, Ukraine wouldn't get a single missile this year. Let's unpack what Ritter said and why this isn't just military deception. It's geopolitical fraud. Ritter starts by connecting the dots. Just before Trump announced the 3,200 ERAMs, he posted a message claiming that under Biden, Ukraine wasn't allowed to attack Russia. And the implication? Well, under me, they will. That's not policy. That's provocation. Because giving Ukraine the ability to strike deep inside Russia with U.S.-made, U.S.-targeted weapons would make the United States a direct participant in the war. And Trump knows it. So when he suddenly announces, I'm sending 3,200 ERAM missiles to Ukraine, he's not making a military decision. He's making a political performance designed to sound tough, appeal to his base, distract from the reality, which is there are no ERAM missiles. Ritter drops the truth bomb. The ERAM, extended range attack munition, doesn't exist in any operational form. Let's break it down. One contractor has a $34 million contract to build a single prototype. The delivery date for that prototype? October 2025, which is next month. That means, as of today, not even one missile has been built. There's been no testing, no approval for production, no support infrastructure. And remember, you can't build the launch systems, targeting pods, or logistics chain before the missile is finalized. So what does that mean? 0 ERAMs will reach Ukraine this year. Not one. And next year? Maybe a few hundred, if production starts immediately. But 3,200? Ritter calculates. That would take until 2029 if everything goes perfectly. And in war, nothing goes perfectly. Here's the most damning fact. Even when the production line is fully operational, the maximum output is 1,000 ERAMs per year. That's not enough to change the course of a war. That's not even enough to sustain a serious offensive. And it's certainly not enough to level the playing field, as Trump claims. But worse, the U.S. hasn't even started serial production. So when Trump says, "I'll give Ukraine the tools to win," he's not talking about weapons. He's talking about hot air. As Ritter puts it, it's typical Trump, typical American support for Ukraine. A lot of talk, a lot of drama, zero substance. And the world sees it. Russia sees it. China sees it. India sees it. And the global South is watching, realizing the U.S. can't deliver what it promises. Ritter's analysis reveals something deeper. This isn't just about one missile. It's about American credibility. When a superpower makes a bold military promise, and it's instantly exposed as a lie, it doesn't just look weak. It looks dishonest. And that has consequences. Allies hesitate to trust U.S. commitments. Partners seek alternatives like BRICS. Enemies see the bluff for what it is. And in this case, Russia is already launching offensive operations on the ground and in the air. But Ukraine? It has no effective means to respond. And the game-changing weapon promised by Trump won't arrive for years, if ever. So what's the message? Fight and die now. We'll send help in 2029. That's not support. That's abandonment disguised as strength. Ritter ends with a chilling warning. By the time the ERAMs are made available to Ukraine, there probably won't be a Ukraine. That's not exaggeration. That's realism. Because while the U.S. debates, delays, and deceives, the war keeps raging. Cities are destroyed. Soldiers die. And the front line moves. And if Ukraine collapses before a single ERAM is delivered, then the entire promise becomes a war crime of false hope. Because Kyiv was told, help is coming. But the truth? It's not. In conclusion, Scott Ritter gives us a rare and unfiltered look at the real state of U.S. military support for Ukraine. Not strength, not strategy, but bluff, delay, and deception. The ERAM missile isn't a weapon. It's a propaganda tool. And Trump isn't a leader. He's a performer. But in war, performance doesn't win battles. Only real weapons do. And right now, Ukraine has none of the ones that matter. Stay tuned for more analysis right here on The Informed Perspective. Until next time, stay informed and think critically.
President Trump, if he doesn't understand it, he needs to keep in mind that the CIA, along with MI6 in London and to a lesser extent Mossad, in this case in Ukraine, are arrayed against him. He's got to understand that whatever he decides to do, whatever orders he issues, he's going to have to follow them up very carefully, because the Central Intelligence Agency is into this business up to its neck, and they are going to do what they want to do unless he makes it abundantly clear that he will not tolerate disobedience. So I think that's very important. The second thing is that I think he knows that this will split NATO. The West European globalists that are running NATO, people like, and the EU, people like von der Leyen and Rutte and the rest, they are in favor of perpetual war with Russia. Because, quite frankly, if it stops and the European electorates finally realize they've been lied to constantly from the beginning about the Russians, these governments are not going to last very long. They're afraid of that. So it's very important to them. They don't care about Ukraine. They're not particularly worried about global peace or anything else. They simply want to stay in power. They can't stay in power if this ends.